Welcome to the Firespitting with BS01 podcast, where we absolutely roast BIONICLE. I'm Swert, and with me are
Dorek,
Morris the Matanui cow,
and Spirit.
Wonderful. And today our topic's going to be an interesting one, submitted by a user. Spirit, you have the user's name?
Yes, this is from YouTube user Phantom Dragon 1475, who suggested that, to paraphrase, that we talk about how when some characters turn into, or I guess go through transformations, they don't really look like themselves. So we thought, let's open this up and let's talk about transformations in general, which are a major recurring theme in BIONICLE.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, it started all the way back in the very beginning in the year 2002. And yes, I will consider 2002 part of the beginning because that was the first full year we had.
Well, so, are we including fusions in this? Because fusions started back in 2001.
I wouldn't consider a fusion. Here's my definition between the two. A fusion is something that we're combining together, whereas a transformation is a completely different version of the same character.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And most fusions, if not all the fusions that we've experienced so far, have been temporary or certainly not bearing upon the storyline for an extended period of time. A transformation... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it doesn't result in a new product. Like, a transformation is a new product. Fusion is buy all these products and stick them together.
Right.
Plus, if we distinguish
buy
them,
all the toys.
if we distinguish them, we can pad this out to 2 episodes.
Yes. And we kind of already covered part of fusion on the Vizon episode, but not to the extent.
Fusion. I don't know. I would still like to talk about fusion at some point, but yeah, we can save that then. All right, so transformation.
We can
just
definitely
one
save fusion.
Single characters then. Okay.
So I guess today with the transformations, we have a lot of contenders for who we can roast on today's podcast.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start at the beginning? Go year by year, because pretty much every year has a transformation. And
Absolutely.
I get it. Like, they're supposed to be robots. So if you want to reuse the characters, I thought it was very, very bold of LEGO to not release an updated version of the Toa Nuva in 2003 or any other year until 2008. That was...
Well, so that, I think, is part of... the reason they didn't do anything in 2003 was basically like a stopgap year, right? Like, A, they weren't prepared for the amount of success that they had. B, they were planning for the movie, and so they needed a way to... basically, vamp for time. They needed to, take what they had, the Borok, pad him out a little bit and get the Borok Cal, and then, then introduce the super evil villains, the Rakshi, the real villains.
Right. And on top of that, it's interesting, if you think about it, 2003 is the only year that I can recall off the top of my head where the canister sets were all the bad guys. Found that interesting. But that's not quite the same topic we have to start with. So, 2001, we are introduced to the Toa Mata, or as we just call them, the Toa. 2002, we are introduced to, of course, the Borok, but that's not necessarily the first transformation we're introduced to originally. That's a whole different subject, which we will get to.
Well, but hold on, but going back to them for a second, like, they're in the promotional materials, like, and I don't even remember where these promo materials first popped up, but like there was that weird carving thing that shows something, I guess the Matoran in this case, transforming into the Borok.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that they even knew what they were doing with that. I think as we later learn, Greg explained that by saying that, oh yes, it's because the Avmatoran turned into Borok.
Spoiler
Although
alert.
I'm not sure what the original intent of that was. It might have just been like, hey, let's, like, they're all connected in that they are part of the big robot. That's always been there from the beginning.
I always interpret it, like you said, I think they always interpret it as we are all part of the same team. We just don't have that knowledge right now because we as Matoran have forgotten our ways. You as Borok cannot talk, or certainly not talking in the sense of being able to communicate to us in the Matoran language.
And then I don't know if that's also related to one of the cliffhangers of BIONICLE, which is it talks about the Barag adding quote unquote something to energized Protodermis to create the Krana, and we don't know what that something is. So I always interpreted that something as being related to, I don't know, some base life form from which Matoran emerge from. I don't really know.
No, I can see that. But yeah, unfortunately, since that knowledge has been forgotten or may have never been created, Greg decided to come up with his own answer by saying, let's face it, probably one of the dumbest transformations I could think of in this storyline.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we're doing.
I don't think the idea of that transformation is dumb, but like to include it in 2008 when there's so much else going on, like I don't mean transformation as a concept is dumb. I mean this particular transformation. No, I know. I'm just saying, like this particular transformation from Abmatoran into Borok, like it was done in such a way that the reveal had to have happened in the middle of all of these other things going on. So what was the necessity of introducing it right at that moment?
Yeah, like it doesn't fit the theme, and like it doesn't make any sense. Like there are thousands of Borok, so you expect me to believe that there have been thousands of Avmatoran who have just died. They shrivel up into these husks that you can shove a Krana into, and then these husks have been teleported to underneath. I guess in the Matanui robot's face, and then underneath the inside of his head. Borok make no sense. Can we have a Borok episode?
Oh, we should definitely have a Borok episode.
Absolutely.
But that's not the topic today. Moving forward, though, so ignoring the Borok for a second, we can talk about their transformation a little later. So the Toa have now officially fought and defeated the Barag, and they were trapped inside a protodermic cage, and then the Toa were dropped into energized protodermis, which at the time was just protodermis.
Right.
Oh, really?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't into Bionicle that early on. It's like, when did they talk about protodermis as actually like being everything? If that was just like originally the only protodermis there was.
Well, so in the comics, I believe, like it says dropped into protodermis, and I'm sure we can reference this in a second. But the term protodermis was used, back in 2001 in the Matanui online game, and then in the comics to refer to what we now know as energized protodermis.
I guess it becomes more everything in 2004 when we learn that the water in Metronui is protodermis. And everything just slowly becomes protodermis.
The ice is protodermis, the molten protodermis, the protodermis, everything. You could basically melt the entire city and it would just be more molten protodermis.
And then I think with enough like discussions with Greg, like he eventually reasons that yes, everything is protodermis. So
even the organic tissue is protodermis. Why? Anyway, we already talked about protodermis. That was weird. But yeah,
back then in 2002, it was this mysterious substance. They got dropped into it, and then poof, they come out as new beings.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like a pretty standard superhero thing, I guess, of like, the chemical X, whatever it is that gives them their powers. And then they had to come up with an explanation of why. Oh, not everyone can do that. It's sometimes you'll be destroyed.
Yes. It's like this example of this fly thing that we mutated. Look, it transformed. It was destined to... Let's not even go there.
You guys did an episode on Destiny, right?
Yeah.
But I guess one thing that the original commenter is talking about is the connection between how the characters look.
Right. And so in 2002, the Toa, I guess, sort of look like their originals. So see, this is the funny thing. Like, the Konohi Nuva really don't actually resemble the original Konohi.
Like, there are... Like, some of them do a better job than others.
Like the How Nuva, I get. Like, that one definitely looks the same.
The How Nuva is the closest to its original counterpart. The farthest away from the original would be the Cow Nuva, and the Mirror Nuva would be the other farthest.
Yeah, like you can see... Like, I think it's one of those, like, let's redesign so many times that it just loses the original intent. One thing I did like was that the Konohi Nuva, some of them had elements of the element they represented. Like, Tahu's How Nuva kind of looked like molten lava to me, of like his face was melting.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. And, the Kakama Nuva is kind of smooth as opposed to the rougher, jaggedy ones.
And Akaku has like the kind of like this lumpy, snowy texture. I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But
and the Cow Nuva still kind of looked like it had like a rebreather on the front.
yeah, and like there are like elements like reminiscent of, like, I have to bring up both masks side by side.
Yeah.
Because like some of them are more obvious than others. Oh, do we not? Oh, here we go.
I do believe the Akaku Nuva probably downgraded, but also upgraded in its own right.
Like you look at the Miru Nuva, it's got 2 side holes beside the mouth, and the Nuva version has the same thing.
Right.
And apart from that, it's all different.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them have similar aspects, but it's like the Picari Nuva definitely does not look like the Picari did.
No, it's like almost the opposite. Like it's got
Oh, yeah.
these, big fancy ridges, whereas the original Picari is nice and smooth. And,
Yeah. I mean, we affectionately called it the dog face for a reason. I mean, I have no problem with dogs, but that's what that mask looked like.
Yeah, I mean, there are, like, devil's advocate, there are horizontal lines, there's a big round mouth hole. That's really it. Like, it doesn't, like, it looks like he's got a mustache. Like, he's like a dog, like you said. Like, I don't, like, they could have just made it look more like it, or I don't know. Like, I don't, like,
It's like somebody from the future came back with the images of the Toa, like of the original Toa, turned around, threw it in Photoshop with the liquefy feature, and just said, "Okay, I'm going to stretch this here."
Exactly.
But so, I mean, they look enough alike that they had to have, like, used the originals as a starting point, right?
Well, certainly, but my point is, it's just like, I don't know, maybe they shove clay at the wall and see what happens. That's what it feels like.
Well, like, especially when so much of the set is repeated. They got the same body structure roughly. I mean, their limbs are a little different. The design is a little more standardized. There aren't so many random push pins in there, but like effectively, the Toa Nuva are the exact same set as the Toa Mata. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's just the way it is.
You're not wrong.
That's the brilliant
Toa,
marketing.
I mean, the Borok proved that people will buy all of the sets, even if they are identical clones with like 2 or 3 pieces different. End of story. So the Toa Nuva clearly follows suit. I mean, the Toa Mata was already clone set to begin with, but with different limbs and different tools, and of course the masks were different. But Toa Nuva, yeah, they standardized all that. They just said, well, now we just have one mold for the legs, one mold for the arms, and we're good.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of Gali, she had just legs.
Yeah, like,
Oh, I guess
Actually,
Anonua had the shorter arms. They were the
His
Borok.
Borok arms, yeah.
Yeah, Bahatu, didn't he have the older limbs as well?
Yeah, he had the original
he had
slicer ones, the
The L-shaped one.
Yeah. But otherwise, the other 3, they had the same limbs as well.
and like I guess that's fine, but I don't know. Like in general, it's kind of a weird transformation. They don't exactly look like the way they used to. And like even just looking at their masks, like the original masks, they're just so aesthetically pleasing. They're just a very simple design. They're all very simple shapes. Like the Akaku is a circle. The Picari is an octagon. The Kakama is a trapezoid. Like it's very simple shapes that you add elements onto. And then this is like, my face is melted.
Yeah, exactly. It's like staring at the sun too long.
I'd be interested to learn how they actually did model these masks, because I know the original 6, of the original 6, only Gali's was done on the computer. The others
Right, the other
done
5 were
physically.
carved out of wood.
Do you think these were carved or digital?
No, I'm pretty sure these are probably all digital based on how they look.
Let's think. Because, I mean, at that point did they have 3D printing at that point?
This would have been the revolution where they had, probably not necessarily the same 3D printing you see today. These would probably be the with like the paper granule and glue.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 2000.
But I mean, sorry, I was going to say, like, as far as transformations go, because we're going to get to some really weird ones. These ones are like the closest to the original design. Moving forward, everything is really just
is wildly different.
yeah.
That's very true. But yeah, 2003. So now we are introduced to the Borak Call, and these are also considered a transformation.
Yeah, which is never
Technically,
explained.
they're individual
See-
characters, but yeah.
See, in my personal opinion, the way to retcon this whole subject, first and foremost, because I know we're going to talk about them, don't have them just be, transformations. Just have them be naturally occurring as, lieutenants.
They're like shiny
you've already-
Borak.
I was gonna say, so they're like the shiny Borak. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Just have them naturally occurring, but they're literally set in place, or have them say they're the original designs of the Borak, and they said, well, these have more powers than we need. Let's just downgrade them and make them a little more, whatever. There are ways to go around about doing this.
Yeah,
Especially considering it just, the Borak Call themselves feel kind of unnecessary as a character.
well, they were.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. They were not
I mean,
necessary.
I understand what the creation was there for. They needed filler, but I don't understand why it had to be Borak Call.
I mean, like the Borak Call designs are cool. Like I like the little fire design. I like their little shields. Like it's very aesthetically pleasing. That being said, I only got 2 of them because I can't. I mean, I just couldn't buy them all as a kid, and I'm like, well, they're all the same anyway. It doesn't really matter.
No, I was the same way. I only got, I think, 2 of them at the time, and now, of course, knowing what we know about the rare Krana included in each one, I wish I had done more.
You got to prioritize as a kid. It's harsh economic times when you don't have a real income.
It's true. It's true.
That's very true. And what makes it even worse, speaking aside, the Borak Call had the promotional with the Silver Chronicle on the one series that you thought maybe we should buy multiples of. Then they decided to put it in the series that you only need to buy one of each of.
Yep.
If the Silver Mask had been in the Borak themselves, oh yeah, that would have been amazing. Because I could easily see people buying up, if they had that kind of money, 6 or 7 at a time of each.
Well, I mean, especially if you can get a little chunk of platinum in there. Platinum's worth a lot.
Well, silver or
sterling
white
silver,
metal.
thank you, or white metal.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Settle down.
Yeah. Personally, though, I've always been fascinated by the Borak Call just for that purpose alone, but not enough for a story reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already talked about how their elements are complete nonsense.
Yes. Yes, we have.
And then
Oh.
it's weird that they are like they're unthinking robots, but then they suddenly become like get this lust for power near the end. And then now that I think about it, like there's this whole you got to collect the Chronicle. Where are those hanging out? Like, are they just like on the ground?
Well, yeah. So then that was they addressed that at some point because Onoa and Pohatu managed to successfully steal a Chronicle from Parakal, I think it was, and then Parakal gets away because the Borak Va, which carry Krana but are not powered by Krana, give him a replacement Chronicle, which I don't know where it comes from or who has it, but whatever.
Another
Yeah.
unexplained mystery.
So does that mean the Tor are just punching the Borak Va just to get more Chronicle for reasons?
Maybe. Just go around.
I want to
punching
see
them
that
like
comic,
dogs.
just them going around punching a bunch of Borak Va and picking up Krana as they go.
Did was that ever a feature in the story? Like, I know the Borak Call eventually, or sorry, the Chronicle eventually turn into their silver version. Like, that's like the ultimate form.
Right.
Is that because they collected all the Chronicle?
No,
No,
that was
no.
unrelated. That was just a way to shoehorn in the sterling silver into the
Not
story.
wrong. The way that they explain it in the story is because they were, quote unquote, so close to completing their task of saving the Barag, that's when they activate their ultimate form to shield themselves. So that nothing can prevent them from accomplishing the task of shoving a symbol into a cube.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they kind of. Well, I mean, the big problem was they looked too much like their predecessors.
Yes. Then again, it could be argued if it's not broken, don't fix it when it comes to the Borak design. And up to that point, nothing else had actually come close as far as a Bionicle set in a canister that looked that good.
I mean, the Borak design is peak Bionicle. Where nobody's going to argue about that. If you are, you're wrong. But
oh no, other designs down the line have improved upon other designs, but I still think the Borak are probably the slickest set we ever got from canisters.
You awake one, you awake them all.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had a whole wall of them, just in canisters, making a hive.
So the wiki, maybe my memory is fading after all this time. The wiki says that the Barag exposed 6 Borak to a mutagenic substance. Now, in the encyclopedia, did it say that it was similar to Hordika venom, which is like such a weird thing to choose?
Not that I know of. I mean,
for all we know, somewhere it says that it was similar to something. But I don't know if it was Viscerac venom. You mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it says that somewhere. I don't remember.
I mean, could it be also closer to the pit mutagen?
It just says
the pit mutagen is just is irradiated, whatever.
Right, it's the waters mixed on Aqua Magna with the radiations from the Cardanui. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it just says mutagenic substance, and that's never explained. So,
No.
In addition to everything else that will mutate you in Bionicle,
there's also this other stuff.
Yeah,
Actually, the encyclopedia on me, it doesn't look like it mentions the substance at all.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
just made it up. Oh no, I'm fake news, guys.
No. It says that somewhere. Hold on. No. You're. I don't remember where.
No, Spirit, I will tell you exactly what's going on. We are old, grumpy men. We are yelling at the clouds, and we are forgetting more than people ever knew about this storyline.
Was that supposed to make me feel better?
No,
Okay, good.
but it justifies us into why we don't remember certain things.
All right, so going back to transformations then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
I
guess
guess the next logical one would be in 2003, when we're introduced to the Rakshi, and then, of course, we're told in story somehow that the Rakshi are created from Makuta dipping the Krata in Energized
Hold on.
Protodermis.
We're forgetting one here. The Matoran.
Oh, I guess you're right. So after the Borak call invasion, for reasons, the Turaga have discovered a method of being able to rebuild the Matoran into their larger forms.
yeah, that felt like such a massive cop out. Oh yeah, we did it, guys. Like maybe even just make the whole point of the Borak saga that, or I guess the Borak Call saga, like the end of that is that the Matoran can rebuild themselves. It's not even related to that.
Yeah, it just happens because
Yeah.
they have the
It
new
just
sets
happened,
coming out.
yeah. Or, instead of trying to even call it out in the storyline, just introduce the sets and just say, this is how they've always looked, because you're going to do that in the storyline down the line anyway.
Well, that's back when they had some integrity of like, well, we can't just say things. People will have questions.
Yeah. Case in point, you put a Toa Mata next to a Toa Nika down the line, and they're supposed to be the same height.
It's inflation,
Just
shrinkflation.
visual effects in our eyes. They actually are the same size.
It's like
From a
Lord of the
certain
Rings.
point of view.
Boo.
But yeah, like
Going back to the Matoran. So I was wondering why it was necessary. Like, why did you need to include the Matoran? If especially you're putting them in the movie, and where they don't look anything like their set form in the first place. Like, what is the point of introducing these new rebuilt characters? But then I remembered that Takua and Jala are basically the whole main characters of the Mask of Light, and you need them.
yeah, well, I
pretty
mean,
much.
the big thing that they get with their new set form is like articulation points, so they can do things like sit down, which is massive for the sets they ended up releasing with the Gakko and Puku. Although that's not the greatest explanation, because as we can see in the Boxor, the original Matoran sets could sit in things. You just have to be creative.
Yeah, you had to build it to where they could sit. It's not that hard. I also find it interesting that we have had how many different designs for the original McTaurin in sets. We had the 6 original in the polybags, and we had the power pack, which I do count, and then we had the box work. So the parts are already out there. The parts exist. So why couldn't we just keep those same sets and then put extra things together, or put 2 packs together?
Yeah, and then make like the big sports game of Mask of Light some sort of disc throwing competition.
Yeah, why not?
Ultimate Frisbee. Perfect.
Would have worked.
Yeah, as opposed to refashioning something we already understand, Well, I mean, I guess Coley was soccer right up until 2003, where it became lacrosse. Even though in the sense it's more field hockey.
And another thing that gets me is that in the 2002 Templar Studios animations, it talks about like the new Coley staffs or whatever, how they're old fishing nets. They're not fishing nets.
No.
I feel like I'm just like the guy yelling out that the Emperor's not wearing any clothes. They're not nets. They're hammers with scoops on the end. They're not nets.
And then the new Cully ball just fits in the bottom, and it looks like this discus thing anyway.
Maybe, look, 2003 CGI, maybe nets were just a little too much for them, okay?
Honestly, no.
Don't call it a net. Like, it's not. It's
I'm going to have to
use
stop.
our imagination.
I will stop. I just got to thinking about it. No, we can't actually do... You can hear her, can't you?
I hear a dog barking in the background, and that makes me think that, the scoops, they're not nets, they're not lacrosse sticks, they're chuckets. They're chuckets for tennis balls.
Oh, they are.
Anyway, no, what I was saying is, you just have to ignore her. What I'm saying is, no, they couldn't have gotten away with doing a disc competition for the thing, because then we'd just be dealing with Tron all over again.
Oh, I mean, it's not like they didn't steal from other properties.
Okay, this is fair. Let's see. So what other transformations were there?
Well, no, like I'm not done with the Matoran here. They don't get off so easily here. Look, some of them
come back to Matoran at some point.
Are very explicitly based on the original. So in 2003, we got 8 Matoran. Some of them are very obviously based off of Matoran that we knew about in 2001, 2002. Through the Templar animations, through the McDonald's promotion. And they had a defined look. And then they went and changed it for no reason. It doesn't make any sense.
They ran out of names.
Like for Takua, they couldn't decide on what his color scheme was. Eventually they picked something. And then they changed it? Why? And
not only did they change it, but they made it blue feet and a light blue Picari.
It doesn't make any sense. And then, what's his face? Hafu, the complete different mask. Well, we made a mistake. I don't care if you made a mistake. Stick to your mistake.
Yep.
And then with Kopeke, I can't remember what we decided on. He doesn't look anything like him. They could have just literally done anyone.
Yeah, it could have been a completely separate character.
Yeah, this is George.
I mean, it's like all red with a Picari. That made sense. And then you changed him to all red with a Ruru.
No, but he had a Ruru because you have some like CGI shots of the McTaurin of non-McTaurin.
Right.
Yes.
So
but my point
did
is
have a red Ruru at that point.
But in the online game, he still had a Picari.
See, I can't even tell the difference between the two anymore, so I don't know.
Wait, are you guys talking about Hafu or Kapura?
I'm talking about Kapura.
Both.
Oh, okay.
Well, in the online game, he had a Picari as well.
Did
he? Oh,
they
yeah.
switched it to a Ruru.
They switched all of them because when looking back on it, they're like, oh, our design for the Picari and the Ruru look almost the same.
So let's just change it up And it feels like everybody that had a Picari except for Takua ended up with a Ruru.
But do we ever see Takua in the first game?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Near the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
Like they
but
just had a weird way of drawing the Picari, like a lazy way of doing it.
Yeah.
But his Takua's Picari in particular looks much more like the set Picari than anything else.
It does, but
If
they've
I'm
also
thinking about it.
made improvements upon it later on.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. They should have just
from getting confused.
stuck to their guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They already knew at this point what a massive hit the Matanui Online game was. Because these characters, like Kopeke, exists because of the Matanui Online game. That's why he is a set that is available for sale, is because of that free online Flash game. It's not like I don't know. It's got, this is like the most frustrating thing.
Well, no, hang on. So, I mean, maybe, and this is the thing, like, we've always been told that the names of most of the characters in the Matanui Online game, two specifically, are of dubious canonicity, shall we say. So maybe they wanted to do one of the ones, like, use one of the new names, but couldn't?
That's entirely possible.
And so this was the only name that they had available of a character that we would recognize, and so they just gave it to him.
I guess. I don't know. I also don't know why they picked, like, no offense to people who really like the ice sets, but, like, that's such a random inclusion. As you, like, there were.
I'm going to point this out there. We only ever knew of two Matoran anyway. Motoro, because he's always there, and Kopeki because of the online game. Period. Stop.
Yeah. But I mean,
could you name right now at least one more non-Toa, non-Toraga ice character?
Pakistan.
Thank you.
I think that's his name.
Yeah.
But
again,
yeah,
like
Pakistan.
those
Great-
names
a great,
weren't
important character.
legitimate. Or I don't
He's one of
think
the
those
guards,
names are
right?
actually legitimate.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that it shouldn't have been ice characters because they don't show up in the movie. They're not important to the Matanui Online game 2. They're not even visually appealing. Why not pick the Leikoro team or the Onukoro team, like visually striking team?
Give us purple or teal. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
no,
do we-
that would have been amazing to get Tamaru as a character finally.
Yeah.
And just we
Tomorrow,
don't
Tamaru.
see, because in the movie it's Takoro versus Gakoro versus Pokoro.
Right,
So,
and
yeah,
they already
what
had
was the point of the
Takoro
ice
covered
characters?
because of the. They already had Takoro covered because of the Gakko and the Puku.
Yeah.
So they just needed to pick out the other one. Obviously, Pokoro and Gakoro are set, but then because they have to do things in batches of 6, did you really have to put out another 2?
Well, they did. I just wish it wasn't those two.
Personally, I think it would have been better if they had released, instead of 2 per, they should have just released 1 character per Koro. It would have been better.
Ooh, yeah. That's
I mean,
the
it would
answer.
have been, but
That's a different topic though.
Yeah, we're getting a little off topic here.
We
Yeah.
are way off topic. So now we're
Anyway.
moving away from the Matoran. We are going to talk about the Rakshi being transformations from Krata because of energized protodermis. And this is where we're finally introduced to the idea of energized protodermis, I believe. Besides retcon.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with this. Like, they kind of look like slugs with legs.
But I find it interesting that the Krata are destined to transform,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
Antidermis is not destined to transform.
I think we talked about this both on the Destiny one and
the
the
Protodermis
Protodermis
one.
Like,
Yeah. This is the one that kind of breaks the entire concept of Destiny and also breaks the entire concept of, well, it either transforms or destroys.
yeah, like I guess it's nice that they came up with an origin for where did the Rakshi come from.
Yeah.
Because, like, everything else.
Well, I mean,
was-
like, couldn't they have just been, I don't know, built? Because, I mean, especially at first, you only have 6. right? Like they're not. We don't kind of realize that they're swarm enemies until later. So why did they need to have that origin in the first place? Why couldn't Makoto have just painstakingly built them, and that's why they're so badass, and they can just because they're super warriors.
Well,
Yeah.
that is a good point. And more to the point, later on in the comics, we learn, there's an entire wall of Krata that are just contained by the Turaga. They've been capturing them for a thousand years. And it's like, so that's what you guys have been doing instead of, I don't know, anything else.
I actually like that. I don't know. It made the Turaga seem useful, because, what good is a village elder if really this is a democracy and we all have the same vote?
Right. Though I will point out, I think it would have also been better to introduce this concept earlier. Speaking in universe, not out of universe. In universe, wouldn't it have been better for them to say, all right, Toa, you have defeated the Makuta, but over here, take a look at this wall. We must protect it from everything, including the Borok that are coming.
Yeah, I feel like they've always had enough to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I guess they count as a transformation. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different because it's not like you're getting Rockshi and then the Rockshi 2.0.
Right.
Except for
It's one to bring
Star
out because
version.
I just know the comment section would go, why didn't you talk about the Rockshi? Well, now I have.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about them, we should also maybe talk about the one transformation that truly does not make any sense given everything we know. Puku.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Puku.
yeah.
Yeah.
Puku started off small, little muscle crab that you can build a set out of. Very nice, very fun. And then boom.
Into a gigantic thing that fits on your desk. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't get explained at all. Like, they're not supposed to grow
They
because
did
they're
finally
robots.
retcon it. They finally retcon it by saying when the useless crab grows older, it has a chance of changing its color.
I don't think that's a retcon. That's just how they explained it at the time. But
Yeah,
given
that's how they
everything we
explained it
know
away.
about these, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it should have been that Puku got rebuilt as well, but I guess they didn't want to animate that.
No, they didn't want to animate that, and they certainly didn't want to try to explain that.
But they're robots; they're not supposed to grow, and that's why they've got this whole recurring transformation theme of we got to explain how the robots are growing and changing the way a living thing would.
Right. I guess so. There wasn't the only other transformation going forward there. So 2004, obviously the 6th Matoran into the Toa Metru. That's the first time we're introduced. No, I guess technically the second time we're introduced to a Toa transforming from a Matoran. Because again, I almost skipped over Takua and Takanuva.
Oh yeah, I mean
That's another one.
I guess he's supposed to look very different, so you don't guess that he is the Toa of Light.
Yeah,
Right.
That was.
Well, his attitude is different. His demeanor is different. He's playful. He's like, I don't care about anything. I'm going to run around in lava and not die.
When I was watching the movie the other day, I was at least impressed with the vocal work for Takua and Takanuva. He is super childlike and then becomes a hardened warrior. It was well done.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost wondering if the mask could have side note. I was wondering if the mask could have implanted some kind of ancient knowledge into him to help him mature faster. Or maybe unlock something in his mind since he is the first Matoran. Maybe that helped him mature.
Did you even watch
Let's
the
not go
movie? Turaga Vakama said that his journey was not meant to be here, but it was in here, and pointed to his heart.
Well, I'm pretty sure the fact that his best friend also died.
Oh, can we do an episode about heartstones and how dumb those are?
Sorry,
Anyway, that's off track. I'm sorry.
Transformations.
Transformation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
Takua to Takanuva, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that one. All of
Since we're
2003
not talking
in the
about
later
fusions,
end.
then we're
We're not
Takua
talking about that
movie.
one. We're not talking about that one.
2004 though, that's this is where things kind of go off the rails. Because Matoran into Toa, that's not the transformation. What they're expecting us to believe is that the Toa Metru turned into the Turaga. And that the masks they are wearing became the noble Kanohi. and that they're different color scheme.
Point.
Now, so somebody, I can't remember, a while ago, somebody was trying to convince me that, like, you know, much like the conversation we were having earlier, that the Kanohi Metru had a lot of these same, like, you know, very subtle hallmarks of the noble Kanohi, and I can't see it.
They do. It was probably me.
It was probably you. I still can't see it.
I'm such a Kanohi apologist. Let's see. Let's bring up the old Kanohi page here. Okay. You don't have them listed next to each other. That's very inconvenient. Okay, so like take
their great form versus noble form. What can you expect from me?
Take the How. Look at the eye shape of the Great How and the Noble How. It's like this weird two squares connected by a line. It's like a Sonic single eyeball thing. Both masks have that.
Yes.
And then that's that. So that's where that falls apart. In the movies, they try to do a more of a closer job of like having the horizontal lines and sort of the vocalization pattern. Other parts are changed. Like it's like even the overall shape of like it looks like he's got like a long nose or like a pharaoh beard. That completely goes out the window. The Rao is the most obvious one, looks exactly the same. Easy. The Mahiki,
It's illusion. It doesn't have to look the same.
aha! Oh no! And the Mahiki actually looks very similar. It's got like these circles on the side,
small,
like the ears that looks like Matau has. That design carries over.
Right. Eventually it grows kind of like that veiny sort of thing on the head, which also looks amazing. The Komau obviously is the most different.
Yeah, I'm looking at now. I don't really see. Then the Ruru. Oh, it's got the like same thing. It's got noble version has little cheek things, and then the noble version, like the great version, like the cheek things come right out at you. Poke your eyes out.
Yeah, and the Matatu is always going to look a little different because they claim, oh, this one has like an eyepiece attached to it.
Yeah, it does. Like if you take off the eyepiece and like compare the non-eyepiece design, like it's got two dots going up the head, similar to the noble version. Eyepiece was a mistake.
Little flare out on the cheek sides there. That kind of matches the same effect.
I will go out on a limb here and say that the Toa Metru's Kanohi look more like the noble masks than the original Toa Mata's versions look like the Toa Nuva's masks.
Yes. There is at least
so that's the hill you're gonna die on. Okay.
Yeah. Although I think it's really stupid that the Matatu has a lens. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. I'm grateful that eventually they fix all that by giving us Matoro's masks.
And then
none of Matoro's masks have any eyepieces.
Right, but then and then it comes back in 2008. Well, I guess that makes sense, but
on the other side of the face.
Yeah, on the other side, right.
Yeah.
It's the whole Zuko thing. Your scar's on the wrong side of the face.
Yeah. Then again, they also carry it along with the Suletu. So that asymmetrical mask of organic.
And, half of the Mari's mask were asymmetrical, although we'll probably get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
Now, I know this isn't canon, but one explanation I did hear that I liked, or I saw theory, is that the Toa Metru change colors to Raga, not instantly as they do in the movie, but like over time, being in direct sunlight.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you have an example of like the Vahi rusting, right? So I guess that's not impossible.
Right, but that was also because it was exposed to the waters just outside of the city.
Sure, the salt waters.
Yeah, to the salt waters.
Well, but I mean, I'm saying it's similar. Like, Spirit saying that this theory explanation here is basically that the armor is bleached from the sun.
Okay, but can we talk about the logic of that? if that's bleaching from the sun, then what about the Matoran? Why are they all still the vibrant colors, not the faded colors?
Well, no, they start. I mean, the Metru Nui Matoran, we can, I guess, jump to this topic now, are the darker Metru colors. And then on the surface, they are the bright 2001 to 2003 colors.
You know, here's my take on that. What if it's just the trick of the light with a different source of light?
Huh.
But, I mean,
Well,
is
if we really want to
source of
overthink
light
this,
technically the same? But no, go on, Morris.
I mean, think about it. Once they go to Cardanui, the Toa Nuva turn into the darker colors themselves. Or at least Tapu does.
We'll get to that. Sorry, Morris, you go.
yeah, okay. If we really want to overthink this, fast forward to 2006, full lat color transformation. But the Voyanui Matoran have been on the surface of Aqua Magna just as long as, well, longer, right? Than the Matoran Matanui.
Yeah,
and they're all
that's a good
Metru
point.
colors, except for Dalu, who's Mata Blue.
Yeah, no, theory falls apart. Sorry, theory
Falls
dead.
apart.
Dead on arrival. Didn't even last the whole podcast episode.
Didn't even last 10 seconds.
And that's how we do. Myth busted.
All right. So there were
Oh,
no
no,
other
wait.
transformations.
No, there are, because the 2004 Matoran go into little capsules
And turned into the 2001 Matoran.
But the problem with that, first of all, the Metru Nui Matoran design is hot garbage. I hate that design so much. Does anyone like that?
No.
I mean, the body is so big, and it doesn't match anything that they've done before. Like, it feels like the body was designed for something else, for a larger set, and they just couldn't use it somehow, and so they just slapped a couple of limbs on it and said, done.
Well, that's what they
Right.
ended up doing. Like, it becomes, I think it like shows up in a couple of sets as like the chess piece.
You know, like, yeah, Norik has it as some armor. Yeah, it happens a couple of times. Cedarak, I think, as well.
It's a hideous. No. Turaga Duma is like the only good example of using it that way.
But
And
then
only
why,
because they changed the limbs.
if he's a Turaga, why does he look exactly like a Matoran? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you know, Makuta did show up in 2001 as a Matoran at first.
It's because he's got the robes. The clothes make the man. Okay.
Classic government politicians always trying to look like they're the working man while being one step ahead.
Oh. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of time left. I don't really want to sit here and talk about
Why not?
those Matoran much longer. But
Yeah.
yes,
They're bad.
they turned from 2004 to 2001, and apparently that was such a gradual change, but they also keep losing the memories.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, like, that's the thing. But the movie designs from 2003 to 2004, like, they're supposed to encompass these 3 different sets that we've got, but they're all just the same design.
Yeah.
Right. Like, well, I mean, I get why they didn't change it in the movie, because the Matoran are hardly in the Legends of Metru Nui movie. That's whatever.
Well, no, they're in it quite a bit, just
Yeah, they're all
not
the
but
in
same.
the same
in the background, they're not.
Yeah, they're not
front
main
and center.
characters like
Yeah.
they were in 2000.
I mean, Kongu gets one line. Being threatened.
Yeah.
By the way, there's the next transformation we have to talk about. Nadiki.
Oh yeah.
So, does that, or is that 2005 then?
Technically he was introduced in 2004. Technically he was transformed hundreds, thousands years ago or whatever.
His transformation
Yeah.
happens during the 2005, or was talked
Well,
about.
I mean, when is Birth of a Dark Hunter released? That's 2005.
That was
It would have been
2005.
introduced in
His
2005
second
because
year.
that's when we got Rudaka. That's when we got
Yeah.
the Dark Hunters all together officially.
Well, yeah. Why don't we jump ahead then? Unless anyone has anything.
Well,
to
I
say.
mean,
There's
it's
not
it's
much
not a
else in
fusion.
2004.
It's not a fusion, but we have Makuta, who transforms from tiny little Turaga Duma to big giant monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Makuta is a known shapeshifter. I thought the Ultimate Duma set looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Big teeth
that's
and
one of my
wings.
favorites.
In the movies, how lazy is that? Well, we'll just put wings on them.
Let's
And then
just
not
put
a-
wings on him, and then that's good enough, right?
And then where did the wings go? What? Come on, guys.
We don't know. Maybe they get trapped in the protodermis cage that he's locked in.
So you're saying they were just winging it.
Hey.
But of course, then Greg finally comes up with a way to explain where the wings went by just having the Shadow One laser them off. But
he's a shapeshifter. It doesn't matter. Oh my god.
yeah, I was about to say he could just create new wings. He didn't even have to absorb the Devok. He could have just made wings look like them.
But what more does he need the wings for? What did he need the wings for in the first place?
He could fly no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, I think they gave Miramax or whoever, I can't remember, Creative Capers, the studio that makes the movies, a picture of Ultimate Duma. Like this is the ultimate bad guy. It's just Makuta in a different form. This is what you get when you stick our 3 most expensive sets of the year together. And they were like, okay, we're going to take our previous model of Makuta from last year, staple some wings to him. That's, how do you think about that?
All right, but what about the other 2 sets? Oh, we'll just have them absorb them. What do they get from it? Nothing. We'll just staple wings on them.
So, but that is a transformation. But then, so then we go to 2005.
So yeah, we could start with Nadiki because he's like the bridging gap. I think I've mentioned this before. Rudaka being able to mutate anyone at will is the most overpowered garbage I've ever heard in my entire life.
I agree. It should have been. There should be a resistant to it, or there should be some sort of weakness to it.
I'm okay with it as long as it like can work like Hordika Venom, where there has to be a huge big trial to change someone back. But then when she just mutates the Rahaga back to the Haga, like what? Why?
Or maybe it's an uncontrollable mutation, kind of like the Hordika Venom itself. It's like, all right, I'm going to shoot you with this, and I don't know what I'm going to get. Maybe it'll kill me.
But even with that, like it's such. Like it's like you like other people's powers. Like if Tahu shoots someone with fire, they get burned. You're not going to die. You're not going to suffer life-threatening illnesses. I mean, maybe if he's like going all out, he'll burn you to a crisp. But you could like jump out of the way. This one hit, you are not killed. You are deformed for the rest of your life. That's horrifying.
Yeah, it is. and it's super overpowered.
For this to also be introduced in the year where we've got these the Visorak, which are known to bite people and mutate them, it's just so off, like away from the theme to have Rudaka also be able to mutate people in a different way. Oh, yeah, Rudaka was a mistake.
Here's my next question: why couldn't we have had Kitongu be able to cure that too?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
Like, just give him, instead of saying he can cure Hordika Venom, just have him say he can reverse all transformations, and that would have also been a way for the Turaga to learn how to undo 2004 to 2001's transformation.
Well, it goes back
to this whole,
like,
that long to reverse it.
This whole ticking time bomb theme of, 2005, where, like, if we wait too long, you'll become more animal, and, it'll be too late forever, but then... you could have used the Rahaga like as an example of what happens when you wait too long.
Yeah, that would have been so much better if like you turn into. Well, I mean, let's be realistic. The Rahaga, quite obviously, are not meant to be previous Toa that got transformed by Rudaka into what they are now. That's not why that set was created. I think it was either here is a Turaga version of the Rakshi, or here is what the Rakshi eventually became. And I think Greg had written himself into a bit of a corner by explaining the origin of the Rakshi, so that so that the set designers were like, "Hey, let's throw the fans a bone and explain where the Rakshi came from." And Greg's like, "Oh, I already did that, guys."
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Is the term Rahaga, is that legally allowed? All right, I got an idea.
Right.
Well, and then instead of being related to Turaga, it is related to the Haga, but then an H on the end. So...
Oh, but that doesn't make any sense. Like obviously they are Rakshi Turaga. Like that's what that is. Don't tell me that they're not. And then the Toa Haga,
or even closer to Rahi Turaga. That's the other way to look at it.
But still, it should have been. And then, like the whole Toa Haga thing in general of
you know what the Rahaga should have been, in my opinion? They should have just been mutated Rahi that turned into Turaga. That would have been interesting.
Oh, I don't know, man. Then you got to deal with
The
like
Hordeca Venom could probably work
gaining
both ways.
sapiens.
Maybe,
I feel like that's
yeah.
that seems like a can of
Already, Kitangu and Kraka are a big problem when you
worms.
have
Right.
sentient Rocky. Like, what's the dividing line?
Well, and the Kitangu, the what are they? The Kikanalu could also speak, at least to Nakama.
Yeah,
Apparently Frostellus now too.
Oh yeah,
That's the thing
somebody's
that
bringing
came up
that up that
recently.
they might not actually be Rahi at all.
Yeah.
Bionicle was a mistake. Let's move on to. So
yeah.
we also
Well,
have.
I mean, we also have the Hordeca, like the main thing of
Right.
2005.
This is-
Oh, no,
I'm
sorry.
Gonna sit here. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, this is honestly and sadly the closest we get to a transformation between one to the other that actually looks similar, minus everything.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the masks are definitely, the heads are definitely inspired by the masks. That I can immediately say.
Were they though? Were they?
Yeah.
I kind of see it with Bakama.
We get side by side.
It's funny. I actually think that the Hordeca masks look more like the noble masks than the Grey masks look like the noble masks.
Like it just like no, I don't know. Like it's I it's very difficult to know what they were trying to do with those designs because even the head shape is so drastically different. Like there are similarities for sure, like in the like in Nuju's mask where he's got
Yeah, that
weird
one eyepiece.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's
I guess maybe
I
not
wanted
as
them to look more like Rahi because that's what they're supposed to be, like turning into beasts. So,
Right.
like I think there's like some elements of that. Like Vakama kind of looks like a bear, sort of. If you squint,
Yeah.
like Nokama looks like a fish.
Well, and I
sort
think
of.
they did like a good job of that in the movies, making them look more, especially with the way they hunch and their claws and everything. It's, but that was not present in the set designs.
Yeah.
Matthouse definitely looks more like a bird-like head. But anyway, I hate 2005 anyway, so I'm trying not to say too much negative.
Okay, that's what this whole thing is for.
I know.
But yeah, it's another instance of like let's change the characters. Let's add silver to them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We got the Nuva, Borat Call, Hordeca.
Yeah, I guess the Hordeca did have a lot of silver, didn't they?
Their leg
Their
armor
entire
is
chest
recolored.
piece was
Yeah,
silver.
the chest, the feet, the shin armor. Yeah.
Didn't they also have silver hands, or am I thinking of something else?
Nah,
No,
Yeah.
just gray.
Borat Call
Oh.
had silver hands.
Oh yeah, they had the gray hands. Ugh. That's the other thing I hated about that whole series is 2004, 2005. All of the limbs or all of the the hip joints and all that stuff was all gray. Didn't even match the color scheme. Granted, with the darker colors, it kind of matched, but such a step back from
So I guess moving on with transformations, we also have the Haga who showed up as sets, even though they were meant to be like original versions of Duma and Nadiki, right?
Which would have been a much better story.
Yeah, it would have been an
I don't
interesting
care about the Toahaga. I just don't. These were Makuta Pterodax's bodyguards. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Why
that's
is
true.
your
The
bodyguard?
idea of them having bodyguards was interesting at the time because, the Makuta were originally good guys, yada, yada, yada.
What's also interesting is Toahaga. This is just one team of many. Every one of them had their own Haga team.
Now, see, that's when it loses it for me. Like,
Yeah.
they all have bodyguards and no.
And then they slowly kill off all of their bodyguards, except this particular team rebelled first and stole the Mask of Life.
Yeah, now that can get out of here.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
2006, we are now introduced to the probably the greatest example of the transformations thus far. The Joller's team turning into the Toei Nika.
What's up with those color schemes, man? Like no carryover. At least acknowledge it in the story, though, because I feel like there's one point Huki like acknowledged he had weird armor.
Yeah, Huki
Yeah,
was
Huki-
mentioned as being self-conscious about it. And, like I think there was some promotional descriptions where, like, the transparent colors meant that they were, charged by lightning or whatever, but then not even all of them had transparent colors.
Just the two. And, that does go back to the idea of, why don't we just make them different elements?
Different
Coming back to
elements
the
or different characters. Like, I think this comes from our discussion before of it. What is to be gained by, we barely knew Jala's team before. Like, we see them. We recognize the name. The new characters don't look anything like the old ones. They don't act like the old ones. Like, Jala's like, oh yeah, I've learned so much from Tahu. You were the leader of a militia.
Yeah, you should have been teaching Tahu.
Yeah, like, and then like, oh well, Holly used to be like this very shy person who then came into her own, and then now she's getting headaches all the time, and now she's like the most overpowered of the Toamari. Like it's there's no connection. Or like Huki used to be this athlete, and what does he do?
He shoots
Nothing.
things.
Pew pew.
Yeah. Nuparu was a great inventor. He created the frickin' Vaki. Now what does he do? Claws.
Also
He flies.
And flies. Kongu.
And that's another thing too with those mass powers. I mean, not to get off topic on it, like, but you have this whole transformation aspect where everything about them is different. But for some reason, you had to like basically have a whole book to explain why they have different masks than they had before.
Yeah, they should have just been new characters.
New characters, and maybe just say that these are, I don't know, why don't you just have them launched from the Red Star? That would have also worked.
Yeah, like do a proper reboot. None of this half-measured nonsense.
Yeah. And like I said, new elements, that way you could at least shoehorn in all the elements that you thought you had. You just have to take out from the books the parts where the Paraka already used other elements. Problem solved.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the problem is that
are we going to count Karzani's failed rebuilding of the Matoran as a transformation then?
Well, if we counted 2001 and 2003 as a transformation, then yes, we have to count Karzani's attempts.
Yeah, I thought that was a good explanation for some very questionable set builds.
Yeah. Well, it explained away the Voyanui resistance team sets for starters. And it also kind of helped to explain 2007's stuff a little bit later, but that's neither here nor there. I like the idea that there is a creature named Karzani, like a being, and he is just destined to not really be good at his job in the first place.
He's too relatable.
Yeah, somehow his mask is also the most broken out of the entire storyline.
It's the mask of plot convenience.
Yep,
is what it is.
Yeah, I mean it shows off.
We didn't actually talk about that mask much during our alternate universe podcast, did we?
No,
well, it's not really alternate universes because.
No, it's just showing off the possibility of. What happened if you don't do this?
Isn't every possibility then an alternate universe? If we...
But I feel like we could do a Karzani episode.
Yeah, well, like part of the problem with his mask is that it's a mask of illusion that just very specifically targets alternate futures, and it gets them wrong. But I think this is not really the place to discuss that.
No, we will talk about that. I recommend we do a topic about all the legendary style masks that we know of, and his does count as a legendary in my opinion.
But yeah, let's finish up this podcast. It's been running long. Anika were a mistake. Tomari, they also don't look like the Toa and Nika. How did they get that wrong?
I can't.
Personal opinion, I think the Tomari should have been the design from the first place, with the exception of Jaller, Nuparu, and Huki. I think those were the upgraded.
So half of them, cool.
I think Holly Mari is probably the best design. I kind of torn between Matoru Mari and Matoru Naika, but I'm torn. I'm pushing towards the Mari's form just because of the importance of that character. And you can't tell me that Kongu did not get an upgrade.
Well, I mean, at least
hands.
with the Mari, 2 hands. At least with the Mari, like, you know, you have a clear theme for the year, right? So, like, you know, I can buy the fact that they don't all look different because they all look like each other. You know, even if they don't look like the previous form, they look like other sets of that year.
Right.
I think it was really dumb that the Mask of Life turns into the Mask of Transformation.
Well, so, and that's the thing too. It's like, it's how they got transformed. Like, they could have just been friggin' mutated. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why
Well,
did
no,
them-
like I was really hoping in 2006 because like by that point we'd already had so many stupid transformation powers. I'm like, I can't even keep track of this. Can we just get a year where no one transforms? Where they know they're going underwater. What if they got scuba gear like a normal person?
And that's the thing. Hold on. Toa Terrain Crawler. Do you remember that thing?
Yeah.
In that scene when they're going back with the Toa Terrain Crawler, that is never explained, by the way. Never explained.
Non-canon.
For some reason, they are put in the sub, and all of their armor is getting stripped from them, their masks get taken off, and everything gets reattached, and it's brand new. Why couldn't you have done that at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
Just give them all of that new armor.
Well, but
give
and
the
then
Toa
you
Terrain
also
Crawler
see
early.
it filling with water. I mean, that whole scene was non-canon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But
my point is, no. It happened the same way in the book, too. That scene was canon in the book. Where they were getting new armor and new masks, and it was just getting rid of... Yeah.
It takes their masks and, like, what, cleans them or something? I don't know.
Like, it repaired them. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But my point is, just make one minor change where they're just getting new armor and everything.
Like they even changed the color schemes. Like they shouldn't have even like it should have been like now you can breathe underwater. That power is added to your previous mask power. Go nuts! Instead of let's invent new mask powers. This is the mask of zombies. We're gonna later reveal that zombies can't exist because there's no such thing as a dead body.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's, you know,
doesn't work either.
You can't, you know, at the very least, when you had, you know, 2001 to 2002, 2002 to 2003, 2004 to 2005, all that, like, there was a very clear color scheme. And, like, I can buy, you know, the Matoran we saw back in 2001 are different than 2006 because so many things have changed. But from 2006 to 2007, not a lot changed in terms of, like, you know, building principles and everything. They just threw a bunch of new colors out there.
Yep. Just complete... there's no like unity of design at all.
Very true.
And then we also got lime green joints.
Oh, poor lime green joints.
Sad.
All right.
2008.
This is the last transformation year until about 2010, but let's just snap.
We're not going to talk about 2015 and 2016?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, this one was actually the new armor type transformation.
Yeah. So I did
the
like
first
that.
time where it's not a real transformation, right? It's just
behold Toa Nuva. You are Toa Nuva. You will always be Toa Nuva. Here, have new armor that transforms around the environment that you have. But don't worry, canonically, it looks the exact same as what we had in 2003.
Yeah, that was dirty. The magical transforming armor, that's what they should have started with, honestly.
Yeah. There's our time up.
We can keep going for a little bit.
We're going to go for at least another 5 minutes.
Yeah, the masks look nothing like the original masks. Like, I won't even try to apologize for these. Like, they're...
and they're all cool masks is the thing. Like, they're all, well, I mean, except for but whatever. But,
yeah, let's not go back to Waffle Face.
Or Pohatus, I guess. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
they should have just been different characters, to be honest.
They should have just been different characters again. Well, you know, like, with the whole idea of changing armor, one has to wonder if they were maybe, like, trying to future-proof a little bit. Maybe they thought they would get another transformation out of that. We get, you know, like, a fourth year of the Toa Nuva. I don't know.
Well, wasn't this originally supposed to be the third year of Mari, and then they decided to reboot?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
so
I
I
wonder-
wonder if the Toa Nuva in the adapted armor were supposed to be the next form or the final form of the Toa Mari.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I mean, yeah, the original.
make-
well, I
that
mean,
would make
I
a
guess
lot of
we don't
sense.
know when the shift happens exactly. Like at what point in the.
Well, no.
Planning process.
Here's the other thing. It probably wasn't at first. Maybe it was at first, but then they changed it because if you look at it again, what is effectively Kopaka's new mask still looks like an Akaku, even if it's not. Looks
Yeah,
nothing like anything
no.
that
That
Motoro
hasn't
would
stopped them in the
wear.
past
Or
with
the-
Nutri's
Well.
mask.
But my point is, they went 2 years in a row without putting an eyepiece on anything with Motoro's face, and then they went back to it in the third year. I don't see that happening.
Oh, but I mean, maybe it's the same reason they ditched Brown. Maybe they were like, oh, the fans really liked this asymmetry on the one side of the face, but only with the ice characters. So maybe we should give that a shot again.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Like at that point in the story, like, it was just too much. Like I didn't get any of the 2008 Toa. Like I did not connect to them as, oh yeah, this is the natural evolution of Tahu. Don't tell me that. It's a lie.
Anyway, we'll wrap up very quickly. So the last transformation we were introduced to, other than the Adventoran turning into Borak in this year, which we've already went over a lot of
Yeah,
that.
we went over that.
It's bad.
2010, I guess technically 2009 has some transformations, but not nearly as many.
Snake.
Yeah, we can talk
there's
about
the
that
snake.
as turning
The
into a
weapons.
snake. Or Click turning into a shield. Yep.
Yep. The weapons, Click turn to shield. All right. And then 2010, the final transformation that we were introduced to is the Ignika reaches out and transforms Tahu back into a Toa Mata.
Yeah, I mean they could have just not done a storyline that year.
Well, I mean, you had like giant robots fighting. Like, what more did you really need?
you didn't need to explain why Tahu all of a sudden looks like his Mata form.
I mean,
You could have just
it's
said
fine.
his
It's
adaptive
better than
armor
nothing.
turned him into this.
It was
Then he'd
alright.
be so
I didn't
OP,
mind
though.
that just because it was better than nothing.
Yeah, no, I guess.
He'd be Nuva level power and have access to all the Rakshi powers, which
Tahu OP.
yeah,
Except
they could also just make the golden armor not give him Rakshi powers. Like
You're asking way
golden
too much
armor-
there.
the golden armor
Well,
did
but,
not.
and like,
Hold on. I'm just saying this out loud. The golden armor did not give him all the Rakshi powers, just all the powers of Rakshi that he killed.
Well, but like,
Wait.
why include that in the story at all? Like, you don't see that in the comics. He never uses them except like at the very end of the novel where he laser eyes something. Like, I don't know. It was an unnecessary cliffhanger for things.
Oh, and on top of that, the golden armor
like
only worked once.
everything.
to kill the Rakshi.
I
it only
still
worked.
kind of want to talk about 2009, where we had something that was not a transformation but should have been. Can we talk about the Voroks?
Ugh. That
And
doesn't
how
make
they
any
were
sense.
like this socially regressed, like primitive subhumans that used to be whatever Glatorian types.
Well, and we also then get introduced to ones that didn't devolve like that on Botomagna. And they seem to be like more intelligent versions of the Glatorian to begin with.
Yeah,
Weird.
2009 and beyond. It's just a hot mess.
Yep.
I think I already said it once. Bionicle was a mistake.
And on that note, I think we can probably wrap up that discussion.
Oh, yeah. All right. So I think we've learned a lot today. Somehow. Did we?
Somehow.
Bionicle is
Well,
a
actually,
mistake. You said it yourself.
we could talk
Yeah.
about the very last
The very last what?
transformation. It was a sad one. It was when Bionicle transformed into Hero Factory.
No, we're definitely done.
Oh.
All right. So thanks for joining us. Feel free to follow us on our social media. We have it on Twitter. We have on Facebook. We have on Instagram. We have Reddit. We have... Oh, and just introduced, we now have a Patreon. If you are able to help out, supporting the website. We've been doing this for almost 16 years now. Actually, a lot longer than that, isn't it? Let's see,
No, 16 years.
2006 is when I came
Too
out.
long. Too long.
Yeah, almost 15, 16 years, something like that. And I have not had any ads on the website in this entire time, at least certainly not long enough to justify anything. Google still owes me 87 cents. No joke. That's actually true. We also have an email. I mean, it's on the video, or just go to, just send it to biosector01@outlook.com if you want to get, in touch with us. Ask any questions. You can also go to the website if you have any questions about the storyline.
Let us know what you want us to yell about next.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because we will.
Feel free, post it down in the comments, or you could just email it to us or throw it on social media.
Just yell it really loud. We might hear you.
Yes. Yes. Go to your rooftop and yell out loud, hey, what about such and such?
I have it on good authority that tin cans on a string are coming back.
Oh, very nice. I hear they're also making it wireless.
Perfect.
I think we just call that a bullhorn now. Anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely. This has been Swert.
This has been Dorek.
This has been and still is Morris the Matanui Cow.
And Spirit.
And thanks for listening.
Yay. Hashtag
Yay.
Justice for Hero Factory.
All right.